Hey, it's Shaves, and welcome to another edition of AniTube Digest, where we go over the best and not so best anime YouTube videos to come out this week from the 28th of March to the 4th of April. What a fucking stacked week this is. Fuck. And it's also, I hope to be kind of a bigger digest because I did take actual notes on at least 2 videos because they're very long. And I had vibes about them being like, I don't want to I want to make specific points this time. You're not getting away, but not all of them, unfortunately. So if I gloss over and I don't recall a ton of your video or whatever, I apologize. It is what it's almost 6 p.m. when I'm recording this. Great. But first for the video, I'm sorry, I thought it was not good. And this is probably because it's like one of my favorite anime, and it's one of those things where like my standards might be a little higher this time around, perhaps. And I'm not sure if I'll be able to fully articulate, or maybe the reasons are a little too harsh to give it that not good flavor. I don't know. But I was not too enthused with this Coffee Cakes video. We need to talk about Ouran High School Host Club. And I've really liked his videos in the past. His gay swimming one, the gay swimming anime video was pretty good. And I think I also checked out Evangelion's Lost Sequel a while back. And I like that one too. This one, well, what I had the kind of major thing that was bugging me about it was just that it didn't really start with Ouran and it didn't end with Ouran. It was sort of like a harem anime in general, which it was very much reminding me of Hazel's approach. And Hazel was recommending this video in the community tab. Coffee Cakes is, has it in the channel thing. And Hazel voices a portion of this video too. Like, I know that they're friends and co-collaborators in a way. But it is, and I may have mentioned this in talking about Coffee's videos in the past, but like very much seems that they're just taking a lot from Hazel in terms of the approach and perspective in video making, which would. And in Hazel's latest video, which I'll be talking about right after this, has the same thing where, because it's sort of a kind of a postmodern way of making videos, I guess, where you can just kind of suddenly talk about something completely different that has nothing to do with the title or thumbnail of I guess it's in one of them is in the thumbnail, the things that he's talking about, but it was just sort of weird that like it cut. I think it was maybe 4 or 5 minutes before we're getting into Ouran, maybe even longer. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Again, it was kind of a while since I watched this. I watched these other very longer hour-long videos and other things. But like it was weird, and he introduces it talking more about harem anime and their kind of watch palette and their history and things that they've seen, and talking shit about Horimiya and whatever. It's like, okay. And then focusing a bit on Love Hina for a little while. But it doesn't really stick in the mind because in my view, as a viewer who's clicked on this video saying we need to talk about Ouran High School Host Club, I'm like, when is that getting in there? Even if you did something where like, we'll get to Ouran in a bit, but even if you bring something like that up, I'd be able to bide my time. But the way it was made and framed, it was like, wait, so is he going to talk about Ouran? Like, what's going on? And again, my standards are a little different and a little higher because Ouran is one of my favorite anime, and it's one of my oldest, like, long-running favorite anime for a very long time. So I'm like really waiting for it, and then like talks about Ouran, and I'll get to the kind of diving into that part, which I wasn't wholly satisfied with either. But then the last third of the video is talking about this visual novel that I hadn't heard of, and that's fine, and it's interesting, and it's cool that like a video is able to expand my horizons and stuff. But then it's like, what am I still doing here? I'm not really interested in what you're talking about. I could just not. But the thing is with Digest, if I want to talk about this video, I need to watch all of it. So I watch all, and it's fine, and I like the personal connection you're making and the kind of the surprise of like, oh my gosh, it's getting more. It got another sudden surprise sort of translation of this additional section of the game, and that's really nice. But it was just not what I'm interested in, and it felt very detached, and I just got kind of generally bothered by the way people can just do this with videos. I'm not wholly into it. It makes me feel it makes me feel that like you don't feel confident in making this its own video, you know, and you're not going to make that. You're going to release this as a separate video. And and I'll talk about this with Hazel as well because it's the exact same thing. But like other things about Hazel's video, it was sort of like I ended up liking that one a little bit more, and also because I've just liked her videos a lot in the past. So there's a little more goodwill in that area, perhaps. But yeah, no, I just was just like, what are you doing? It's like just talk about Oran, and then it doesn't have to be a 40-minute video. Do you know what I mean? That's why it's a 40-minute video. It's because it's 3 videos in one, effectively. And like, I'm not gonna be on my high horse and say, because it's like I have a video in the works right now that's very similar, and I'm debating of like whether I make it 9 separate videos or one big 3-hour video. But my struggle with it is that all 9 of those parts are not about different anime or different video games. They're different things entirely, but they're under the same umbrella of harem anime or whatever. They have that kind of loose connection. No, all 9 sections are about Naruto, you know? And to me, I'm like, I don't really want to make 9 Naruto videos cluttering my YouTube, like my channel feed, and also like putting out a Naruto video, maybe getting a kind of a boost in subscribers and an additional boost, and I keep feeding that algorithm with Naruto videos, and now my subscriber base is inflated with Naruto fans who are expecting me to make more Naruto videos when I'm not going to. You know, I'm like, I have a set firm things I want to talk about and then move on. So I mean, that's my perspective, and there's no right or wrong way to do YouTube. I think it's kind of, I'm just coming at it from another creator's perspective of like, that seems weird that you're just going to kind of like suddenly talk about this other thing for 10-15 minutes, and it's like that it makes me feel like you don't have the confidence that you can't, because yeah, I get it, like YouTube is probably not going to push that video about, I'm sorry, I don't quite know the name of the visual novel. Yeah, that's probably not going to get like, it's not going to be the numbers that Oran High School Host Club might, that people have nostalgia for and remember, and it's a known thing, whereas this visual novel, it's not even fully translated in English. I totally get that. But you still want to talk about it. So, I mean, I guess it's a solution, but it is sort of just frustrating to me that's the approach, really. And then, but then the Oran thing itself, I'm sorry I didn't take like specific notes about this, but like, I ultimately felt very underwhelmed by it. It was also kind of like, it put me on my guard when you immediately go out and say that Tamaki's the worst character ever. And it's like, do you know how important he is? I mean, I don't know. It's like, do you like the story at this point? If you don't like Tamaki, if you think he's the worst character ever, and you have these reaction images of him of like disgust, like I get, like, yeah, he's a very overbearing, obnoxious jerk. Calls the, you know, Haruhi's mom character tranny and things like that, which you're only referring to the dub. You never go back to the Japanese audio, and what does Tamaki call? Not her mom, her dad. I'm sorry. I'm so bad with fucking pronouns, man. I'm such a klutz. I'm sorry. I'm the worst, actually. Misgendered people here, and I'm the worst. Anyway, no, it was just weird that you didn't go for the Japanese audio and maybe compare it, because it's like, you make this observation that only Tamaki is calling Haruhi's dad all these things, but then is it the same term? And that was what was questioning in my head, because you know, I'm not, it's been a while or whatever, but like I imagine they're probably all calling her Okama. I don't know, calling Haruhi's dad Okama, I mean, but it's just like, and I had also seen this video by Gill Eyes here kind of talking about this, because Anime Matt also made an Oran video and also brought up this like, guys, problematic, it's 2006, and handling it in the same way you did, I think. And I think there's more nuance to it. And you mention Okama, and you give some examples, and it's a vague term. And so it's like, yeah, all right. I wasn't fully satisfied with your handling of that aspect. And I also wasn't a fan of your handling of the aspect of like the beach episode, where you have Kyoya throwing Hari onto the bed and you call it assault. I don't. I am a. You see what I am. I'm straight. I am not one to classify something as assault. Really, I think it's really like, at least to me, this is my personal. I'm not a police officer, like a lawyer or anything. From what I understand, assault is kind of based on whether the person files it as assault. If they think that a character picks them up and it's supposed to be romantic and they think it's assault, then it's assault. Even if me as an outsider who is not the person who is picked up doesn't see it as assault or sees the intention, blah, 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 if the person who that happens to considers it assault, we should treat them as that. So, so from my viewpoint, which is not the law and it's not whatever, it's just one guy and it's my opinion, whatever. I mean, in the case with Kyoya, like, regardless of his intentions, what does Haruhi think of this situation? And Haruhi sees what he's doing. She sees exactly what he's doing, and she doesn't consider it assault. And she's like, "What are you doing?" and like, he's like, "All right, I see," and she's cool with it. Not cool with it, kind of deal. But like, the assault, like, oh, he assaults her and nothing happens, whatever. It's like, I don't feel like you really got the understanding of what that scene's supposed to be about, and you didn't really give the full context of it, So that was annoying, and it reminds me of this quote that Eyepatch Wolf mentioned in his Berserk video, actually, and I also wrote notes about that one a ton. But like, I might like double check, like say it again. But like, one of the things he mentioned is he's correcting things that he said in previous videos. He's made 3 other videos about Berserk years ago, and he's like, I want to say, I actually wrote the exact quote. I thought back then that if you said something good about something, you have to say something bad to balance it out in order to come across as like objective and fair. And I don't care about those things anymore. I think it felt like you had to mention that. It felt like you had to bring these things up because otherwise people would be mad at you, or just have to balance it out or justify that you like it in these other aspects. I mean, we can have different, and then that's fine. You make your video or whatever. It's cool. It came off cross that way, as just kind of forced and having to say it for the sake of saying it, because you didn't really go that far deep into the scene or explaining it. Neither, in my opinion, they weren't very satisfactory and kind of just like disappointing ways of reading this, of talking about it, really. And then again, the whole thing with Tamaki, it's like, did you pay attention to the last fourth of the show of how like Tamaki is the reason the whole club exists in the first place? It's like Haruhi, you're really focused on like Haruhi needs them and they need Haruhi. And I agree. I love Haruhi. She's one of my favorite female characters. She's amazing. She's not the reason the club exists. I think she's the kind of the final piece and the thing that kind of keeps them together in a way. And otherwise they could have eventually broken apart or something. But like, Tamaki really is the reason they're all a club and to begin with. And like, seeing all these scenes of him inviting these guys and their backstories and things like that, and how it wasn't Haruhi that solved this twin problem and dynamic that the twins had. It was Tamaki like inviting them to this thing, and like, and then Haruhi takes this an additional step with them in their development and stuff. And so, I mean, could completely throw him under the bus as like the worst. It was just like, I don't really trust you talking about Oran at this point. And so the whole thing kind of shut down for me. And then you don't even talk about Oran in the last third. I'm just like, nah, I'm not into it. Yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts. I hope I'm not being too harsh. Of course, I have to soften the blow every time, because I always feel like the previous times I've done not goods and things, I always felt bad afterwards if I was too harsh or something. But it was just very frustrating to watch, and but I'm still looking forward to more things, and I still think like a moment-to-moment experience, you're really good, and kind of I enjoyed. It wasn't the thing that I was like, ugh, the whole video. I was just really like, and disappointed in to try to frame it in a better way, I guess. Anyway, yeah, I would say that pretty much. Yeah, sorry, didn't really like it. Okay, and now for the videos I thought were decent, pretty good. And yeah, we're going to start with this Hazel video, which will probably take a little while because I did a lot of notes and I want to say all of them. So there'll probably be a lot of cuts of me reading the thing and talking about them. And maybe I'll ramble a bit much too. So, I mean, we'll see. But this video is the anime countryside. And I will say that I did get influenced or like colored a certain way about this video. First of all, like the thumbnail, I'm like, ooh, YKK, cool. Ooh, Nia Under 7, extra cool. I really liked Nia Under 7 and wish more people talked about it. I'm like, hell yeah. Especially with this talking about the countryside and kind of like vibes and feel, I can kind of get what this video is about. Awesome. I'm really into that. I'm really excited. And then a person, I won't subtweet them. Well, I will subtweet them actually, because it's like, I don't want to throw more shit of like, he said this or whatever, but they probably know who they are. They tweeted about they made a thread about watching this video and not living up to their expectations and how her vids are just really not for him. And I think it's fair, especially when people have made this, other people have made this point where Hazel's been praised for having really good research, and then when you come into this video and there isn't that much research, or like the kind of research that's satisfying, to these particular viewers, then people who are fans of Hazel would backtrack and be like, no, it's a mood piece. It's just fun on a moment-to-moment basis. And it's like, well, which is it, right? And so I see that argument happening, right? Where I do think Hazel makes an entertaining video, but in terms of one that's additive and like good, like wow kind of thing, it's not the same right now. I think this is a very similar case to her last video, where it's a lot of disjointed points, even more so in this one because it's really a kind of a train of reviews. And I wrote in one of my notes at one point, this is a Mother's Basement video, by the way. Because this is exactly what Jeff does in a lot of his videos, where he's able to, and this is just because this is how he's able to make these videos so quickly and have, in terms of having a good output, is to have a reliable spine, kind of in terms of the structure. How do I make this video? The way people are able to make them quickly or long in Hazel's case is to just have a vehicle and just do the thing a bunch of times. In Jeff's and Hazel's case is just make a lot of miniature reviews and don't chapter them, just have it go, right? And it makes you seem like you're talking about this subject for a whole hour, but you're really talking about it, but repeating yourself a lot, but like doing it in different frameworks. And like I said with Coffee Case video, just kind of talking about a lot of different things that under the same umbrella. But then I think Hazel doesn't, like, you can kind of get that right away, unlike with Coffee, where it's like, yeah, we're going to talk about Oron, and yet we're not going to talk about Oron. And I had problems with Hazel's Vlad Love video for the same reason, I think. In parts, because I also didn't like how negative she was being about Vlad Love, whatever. But I had a similar thing, was like, you're just going to not talk about it anymore? Okay, But I think the expectations were set pretty early on with this, where it's like, I'm just gonna name drop a bunch of anime, talk about them for a chunk of time, a random chunk of time, mind you. Nia Under 7 goes for like 20 minutes and then like mentions Anne for less than a minute or whatever. Like it had variety to it, and I think that makes it kind of less predictable, I guess. But another place, it just like, I was expecting more. It was like, oh, geez, this is going on for a while, or it doesn't have a sense of pace for a video, and that's why a lot of people rely on chapters or like sections of videos, right? So that way an audience can kind of take it in bite-sized chunks if they want, because it's an investment. You're giving us a feature-length movie here, an hour and 77 minutes. That's a lot, Anyway, let me read my notes. And you know what? Him talking, this person who did the thread and wasn't so satisfied with it, I was saying at one point that I was like, oh, I bet doesn't really talk about height, like, because he brings up the point that you mentioned that Yashike kind of had the boom. It started in the 90s, but then had the boom in the 2000s and 2010s. When it really kind of goes back to the 70s, actually. And so I was like, oh yeah, I guess the 70s are kind of like beyond the time scale. But this person didn't mention to me that you do bring up Akagi no An. And you have it in this montage along with Doremi and Moomin. I'm like, yeah. So it's like this stuff I hardly see in videos, and it's my shit. Literally all three of those are some of my favorite anime. And I'm like, yeah, you know, and now there's some stuff I hadn't heard of before, like Deers and things I don't have much tired exposure to. So it got my hopes up a lot. And then right at the start was Binjotan. And it's so funny. I was talking about Binjotan in my anime encyclopedia series, where we were like kind of clowning on how the book was just like totally dismissing it. I'm like, what the fuck's the problem with like, I bet it's nice. I bet it's just whatever. And I'm so happy you talked about it. And I really liked how you talked about it and stuff. I actually looked into it a little bit, and because I wanted to see the art director and stuff. The director is the same guy as the Rurouni Kenshin guy and a lot of other things, like really prolific. He's directing Spy X Family this season. Really prolific guy. I'm like, whoa, that's cool. And I guess that brings me to that point. I hope I don't repeat myself too much. But one of the things I said later was I was just a little disappointed that you don't really name drop anybody. You don't mention a creator, a director, an art director, a background artist or something. You give credit to like, oh, this CG in Super Cab was done by one person. You don't say who that one person is or whatever, you know. And I mean, that's just me of just like, you know, the years of you know, just my the way things were. But like, it's not the biggest deal in the world. But it's like I could have wished that would have been nice. And maybe like when you see an art director from one show, you can then connect it to other ones. If you had like, I don't think any of your shows had Shichiro Kobayashi as an art director, but if you did, then it'd be like, holy shit, he has these other ones, or whatever. So that was a little disappointing. He didn't really mention anybody in particular, but that's okay. It's not the biggest deal. I really like that you start with Binjotan, like a really obscure one and kind of fascinating and interesting. And then a thing that I really like about your videos in general, and I always appreciate this, is your talk about video games. I really think you have a very fresh, exciting perspective and wholesome talk about video games, and your selection's also interesting because I am not much of a video game person. So pretty much every video game you bring up, besides I feel like I've seen Boku no Natsuyasumi. I feel like I've encountered that before. But a lot of the other ones I'd never heard of. And it was interesting. I was just like, that's fresh and cool. And mixing that up is nice. Although it's I'm looking at the title again. It's The Anime Countryside. Okay. It's like, that wasn't really the direction I was expecting it to go. And it's subversive and kind of neat, but it ends up disjointed. I'm just like, wait, are you doing... Okay. Still good, and again, a unique perspective, because most of us anime YouTubers are not talking about video games whatsoever, and I think the two are very intrinsically linked with our experience. A lot of us who love anime also love video games, so like, this is a great perspective. I'm not downplaying it. I would try not to. I did a little bit, but like, you know, I wish that. And then you bring up Arakawa Under the Bridge. I'm like, okay, and this really does start to feel like you're just kind of talking about the show and recommending it, and it gets even heavier later on with some of these other titles where you're really just talking about the show itself, and you're not talking about the subject of the anime countryside. You're not really talking about the setting or the backgrounds and the way that the vibe of this show and how bright, or I don't know, or maybe you were, and it's mixed in really seamlessly to where I didn't register it, I guess, with like how much you loved watching this with your girlfriend or wife. I'm not sure which one. I'm so sorry. I have a really bad memory of like dog shit. I'm so bad. Sorry. No. You talk. I like the personal anecdotes. Don't get me wrong. And then also like, but it was sort of like the review, and like you like these characters and you like the scenario and things like that. And you get it's even further later with Eurocamp and Nana Biori. We're talking about the characters, and that's fair because the characters do kind of inform the majority of the show. But that is really, it makes it even more obvious that, oh, it's just a review of these anime. It isn't a rumination on the anime countryside, which I was expecting. And I really love the point you made towards the beginning. Again, my expectations got super high up from that intro, where you're like, the West hardly does this, where there's so much of a like concentration on the outdoors and the setting and where they are and things. And it's so true. It's unless it's just, oh, they're at the beach, but they're not enjoying how, like, even Arthur or something like that, you know, they're not like enjoying like the vistas or nature itself. They just happen to be at the beach or, you know, doing whatever it is they're doing, right? Even if like little kids, you know, kids shows like PBS Kids or whatever, but they're enjoying the outdoors or whatever, they're really hyper focused on like a bug or, you know, the specific thing and trying to educate young kids about it. But they're not really enjoying it on a atmospheric basis, maybe because they don't think cartoons can do that. And that's a shame because they definitely can, as we know from anime, right? And I love that point, and I don't think it's ever brought up again. And yeah, so goldfish warning out of nowhere. I was delighted because nobody talks about it, and I've been fucking on my horse talking, you know, like, why does no one mention this fucking show? And the one point you mentioned where you couldn't find it with soft subs, and so it had, you know, with hard whatever. Yes, it does not exist with soft subs yet, to my knowledge, but it does exist raw. You could, if you, I don't know, if you didn't, you probably couldn't find it on Ya or whatever, but it does have it on Anime Bytes. You know, I get it. It's invite only. I get that. But like, even if that hard sub is all you had, and I'm not one to talk either, because like my Dazaki series I think has like a lot of subs in it, probably, of like the footage, because I took them all from fucking Kiss Anime or whatever, and now it's all hard subbed. Yeah, that probably happened. But fucking what was it thinking? Yeah, but it's like, if you care, there is possible to take the stuff that's hard coded and dance around. And also my Dormy video, well, all the footage is fucking hard subbed. Like, I'm not one to talk. But like, there is ways to edit around it, so where you're just showing, especially the subject you're talking about. If you're just talking about the countryside and things like that, there's probably plenty of footage that doesn't have them talking and over it, or doesn't have the subs on it. I get pretty nitpicky, I imagine, but it was just something, especially because you point that out in the video with like a caption. You do all that, you know, a lot of the captions and things on screen, and it's like, well, okay, I mean, you could have done that. I just wanted to mention that because it was just like, or blur the subs if you thought they were bothersome enough to call attention to them and be like, hey, sorry, I can only find this hard subbed. Yeah, you know, if you care that much, then blur it. It's okay. I know it'd take more work, and you have more work as it is. It's a big video, but yeah, that's I don't know, details as it be with me, I guess. Yeah, and then you say like, so last time I went camping, and you start talking about camping, I'm like, you're gonna mention your camp, aren't you? And like, I'm just a hipster, okay? I was loving the shit that you were talking about Bincho Town of all things, and Goldfish Warning of all, and even Arakawa is kind of a deep cut of all things, you know, all things considered. And your camp is just like, of course, you know, it was just a little disappointing to me. But I get it, you just want to talk about it, you can talk about what the fuck you want. But that was just my thing, where I just like, you know, especially because now I understand that this is just kind of a series of reviews, and now you're just making a Eurocamp video review. And that was really the moment that I was just sort of like, why don't you just make a Nia Under 7 video? Why don't you just make a YKK video? Why don't you just you can make a ton of these videos and release them a lot more frequently, you know? And maybe your patron audience isn't really looking for that. They're looking for the big video, you know? And there's a reason you're making this kind of long, you know, sure. But that was just things with it for me. It's just like, at this point, with how functional it is, it doesn't feel like you're really making a grander point, because it really is concentrated on just talking about Eurocamp. Like, if I'm just looking at the substance, it's like, yeah, this could probably just be like taken out of the video and made its own video type of thing. And I've been making those debates myself when I'm talking about like the history of Weekly Shonen Jump and like, development of this battle shonen type of thing. This thing nebulous, this concept. Like that's like 10 minutes where I'm not talking about Naruto at all. And it's like, do I take that out? Do I include that? Isn't it good to have in a Naruto video where they probably wouldn't have clicked on that otherwise? Yeah, I think these sort of debates are happening. I just wanted to admit, I was just like, there it is, and I think this is the first time you mentioned that's like, I usually don't watch up-to-date anime, and you say that twice, I'm pretty sure, in the video, but then you look at the selection here. I'll just kind of go through the rest of them. Super Cub from like last year, Non Biori from 2014, Dagashi Kashi from 2016, 17, like, they're all from the 2010s. The only shows that are not from the 2010s, Binchotan, Goldfish Morning, YKK, the video games, I'm not like I'm really in deep with anime, so I kind of know a lot of the, if not the year, then the decade a majority of them are from. Not to brag, sorry. But like video games, I don't know shit. So it's like, I can kind of guess, but not that well. But it was just so weird. It was just like, you make this point, a Nier Under 7 is the other one. Like those four, and then it happens to, it just, I must be some fucking retro dude, retro pejorative. But like, of course, those four are the ones that I'm happy and most excited to see being talked about. And then the others are just like, yeah, okay, I guess, but that was just so weird. Yeah, it's like, what do you mean you're not focused on the new titles? The majority of them are new titles. It was just so weird. I'm all over the place now. I just want to check. So it's like Eurocamp, and then it would have been like a kind of a deep cut would have been encouragement of Climb. And it's like, at this point, I might be demanding too much. And I might just be, I'm just being the hipster, and I apologize. And I haven't even seen encouragement of Climb, right? But like, I've heard of it, and I've heard a lot of people love it, but I don't see many people make videos about it. So I think that would have been really cool. And you have the platform to be able to really introduce this to a lot of people. And this got like a good chunk of views and stuff. I mean, I don't know. For me, it was just sort of a missed opportunity. And again, I'm not like trying to champion it, and I'm just being a big hipster. Yeah, I apologize. Not very valid criticism. Like, you should talk about this thing instead. I don't really want that to be what Digest is about, but I made the mention because I was just like, I did laugh at the part where you, I always like the, how transparent you are with videos, and I've noticed this with other content creators. The more videos they make, especially with them when they make really big videos, they always have this desire to kind of break the fourth wall, and I've done that too. I've done that really heavily in one of my videos at least. And this part where you mentioned that like you forgot about to write about Moomin, it's because like, I'd be a hack if I didn't mention Boku no Natsuasumi, and it's like, yeah, I forgot to write about Moomin though. I would also be a hack if I didn't talk about Moomin, and I didn't. Damn. So like, that was funny. And then that's sort of like over with the how big the video kind of gets and things like that. And that's kind of things that naturally happen. But if you made it separate, I just thought of this. If you made them separate videos, then you could get to Moomin eventually. And you can mix this sort of stuff up. You don't have to just make a bunch of the Yashike videos and move on to something. And as I'm saying that, I'm now like, wait, I could just do that with my Naruto video too. But I just want to work on the Naruto stuff. I don't want to work on another video. So I get your perspective as well, where you're like, I want to be very single-minded to this big project and then move on to something else. I totally get that too. So I mean, it's sort of just like figuring this sort of thing out, where this, again, the medium of YouTube is so young, are constantly making these decisions and making really creative, weird choices. And I think in a way that makes the platform so exciting and worth talking about. But it also can make it kind of annoying and frustrating at points too, I guess. I don't know. It's a fun subject. I'm going to read more notes. I'm sorry. I keep doing this where I don't like cutting. Inaka Karashi, I believe, is a video game you mentioned, and you say that you didn't finish it. There's a small point. I don't think this was the case for the other ones, because I mean, with Nia, you say you watched it 3 times before you got to crystallize the idea of it, which I love that point. I have the same idea with like Nia, because I didn't fully get it, and I feel like I need to rewatch it to actually get it. I totally feel all that. But like it was there was a pattern with that, with like Goldfish Warning as well, where it's like you're talking about it but you didn't finish the show. I just have not the best feeling about that. I don't personally like that, but that's just me. I really liked the detour when you're talking about your hometown, and then you use like Google Maps and you're kind of using it to show the different landscapes that you were used to seeing. That's so unique. I've never seen anyone that go that far with being personal in their videos and stuff. Like even the really big YouTubers don't do that, right? And of course it makes sense, they don't want to get doxxed or something, but you're talking about your previous you don't like live there anymore, and I really liked that insight in your friends. Like the hottest place to go is like the In-N-Out or something like that. Like those are really good points, and that's ultimately what I like watching your videos for. Not simply the personal aspects, but just sort of you can just kind of talk about whatever, and you tangent so much, and you're still kind of an enjoyable moment-to-moment person to listen to with videos and stuff, and your success explains it, right? I think you really tapped into that. And so people are expecting the hour-long video because they just like the thing to listen to. I think that's neat. I like that part a lot when you're talking about Super Cup otherwise, yeah. And like the very beginning of Non Non Biori, when we start talking about it, the describing the scene and the illustrating all of it, that is exactly what I wanted from this video. And I'm like, I didn't get enough of it personally. I was like, man, that is it. That's it right fucking there. And exploring that more. And like, what is the appeal? Why does it was just a missed opportunity, because I was like, that's it. Yeah. But then you end up talking more about the characters and the show in general, and I'm like, okay. And I kind of zone out a bit, unfortunately. But like, thankfully, if the stuff moves on pretty quick, you hop around a lot of topics. So that's in a way, I consider it maybe a disadvantage, because the fear is very unfocused and not so whatever. But if one part's not working, you can move it into something else, and it's like it kind of reignites the attention over and over. There was this one moment, you flash a ton of light novel covers that are isekai, and I saw Bunny Girl Senpai in there. I'm like, wait, are these just random? Wait, or do you think that Bunny Girl's an isekai? Hold on. And so like I go back and I literally go like tapping the frame by frame button to look at all the covers. And it does, I don't know all of them. I don't recognize all of them, and I couldn't read some of the Japanese. But like, I think pretty much all of them were isekai, except Bunny Girl Senpai. And I'm like, is that a joke? But it doesn't happen at the end. It doesn't happen in a way that like seems like a joke. Do you think it? That's a small point, and again, kind of a nitpick. That was weird. But then, the way you were connecting it to isekai, I didn't have as much of a problem, but like the person I'm subtweeting and that had a thread on it was just sort of like, that was weird, because they're both are coming from different places in terms of in terms of the popularity. It wasn't quite fitting, but yeah, I get it. The Summer Sucks rant was really nice. I actually really appreciate it. It felt you have very specific examples in mind, and you've thought about this for a long time, and it will die on this hill. I thought it was really cool and interesting. I don't agree fully, but that's only because I have a very different experience with summer, because the last 10 years of my life have been at this scout camp, the same area. So I mean, I have a different experience about summer. But I get it. I totally feel that. And then Nia, I was like, let's fucking go. Let's go. And I was so happy. And I really liked your analysis of it. I like the angle of the poor kind of. She's like, I'm not glorifying being poor, that sort of thing. That was neat. And yeah, like it was really, there was some interesting live action clips around that section where you were talking about like the lost decade. That was also really interesting, and it seems to be the only clips that are not sourced. You even source some of the stock images that you use in other parts of the video, and you always have the source in the top right, which is so nice. I really appreciate it. I'm happy to see that. But then that the one clip that I was actually like, what is that? What is that from? And it doesn't get sourced, and then I look in your source bin and it's not there either. I'm like, damn. So that was unfortunate. Yeah, and then there's a similar thing that goes on with Coffee Cake's video about Oron and like the whole Okama thing and being very weird and awkward and touchy. You know, I feel like maybe it's because you understand your audience, and your audience is like, better talk about that. It's very problematic. You know, I mean, do you have to mention the Indian guy from Nia? I mean, I guess. I literally don't even remember him. I feel like he's a complete non-entity. It didn't register anything. And I get it's weird, and I get that there's problems with it. Stereotyping, I suppose. But it was just sort of like, the handling of it felt very clumsy. And like you're touched a live wire or something. And I'm like, can we be mature about this? I don't know. It just felt very weird. You know what I mean? I feel like that could have been handled better. I don't know how I'd handle it. Maybe I think like, I'm not trying to endorse ignoring things. If you do think there's something that's a problem, I think it's real. It is just how you tackle it. I think it's sort of like, oh guys, this is a big problem. It's like, oh, why does it you know, I don't know. I have to figure. I don't know the answer to that, because I don't think I've ever tackled something like that in a video of mine. I usually don't talk about it, you know? And I guess that is a way of ignoring it, and ignoring is not altogether a good thing, but I don't know, it's media. I mean, if anybody can find something an issue or problematic, right? And like, or other people the other way, or it's like, I don't even remember the Indian guy from, you know, that sort of thing. And I just took it as like, oh, that's a weird way to end it, because like the end credits, and then they have that like next episode preview, and it's the live action footage of the guy with the turban and stuff, and I'm like, okay, but I didn't take this as like a, oh, you know, and maybe that's something wrong with me, probably. I don't know. I don't know, maybe I'm just weird. I probably am. I'm sorry. But yeah, I just felt like that could have been handled a bit better. You can definitely mention it. I absolutely think you can, and arguably maybe should mention it, but just in a way that just like, you're cool, we're cool. It's like, hey, is this really gonna, is that particular thing, I get like sexual assault, or like, you know, like rape, or sorry, you know, some people like, even the word, even saying it out, where you have to like censor the word because people like have that triggering experience. But like, you can't, I feel like even if you like censor it, maybe there's people out there that will still get triggered by it, even if you censored it. You know, it's like, you can't account for everybody. You can't please everybody. So that's why it's like, ultimately it's like, I have to kind of be up to my standards. It's like, I think this, you know, I think I handled this moment really well to my standards, or like, and it's not going to be to everybody else's, you know. And I don't know. Sorry if that got like kind of out of hand. I don't know. Hopefully I didn't say anything too bad. I'm sorry. Again, yeah, super surprised to see Akagi no An, and unfortunate they only talked literally less than a minute. I counted. I actually was just like, yep, you start talking about it here, and you ended it here, less than a minute. Oh well. You know, that was unfortunate, but you know, it is what it is. And then some more video games, and I'm sorry I would gloss over those, because it really is not my, you know, not my thing, so I don't have a place for it. But YKK, ending with YKK was cool. And it was like, you gonna mention the manga? Because not everybody, pretty much nobody does, for whatever reason. And then, yeah, a tiny bit. You bring it up. That's good. But the ending was really abrupt. I liked how it ended, which is talking about that scene and kind of analyzing it in a way. But like, there wasn't even like an end card or anything. It was just a really sudden way to suddenly kind of moved on to the next video, and I was like, oh wait, what? Like, I was like in the middle of writing a note or something, and it was like, oh, okay. So that was a little weird to end it that way. But sorry if I maybe hopefully don't repeat myself a bunch. And it was also very long. Most digests are this long, and I've only talked about 2 videos. We got a long one, boys. Great. Maybe I'll talk about like 30 seconds of these next couple, because it's been so long since I've fucking watched all of them. Anyway, I did enjoy the video. It was just a fun, kind of like nice way to spend time, and like, you know, seeing people like, again, I think that the fact that Hazel kind of knows her shit and like is talking about this kind of obscure things, and I always really like the moment to moment things. I'm constantly going to be there. There's some people who have decided that generally not for you, and that's fine. You know, like it happens, right, with videos with creators. I'm still around. I'm still cool. I think this is. I'm really looking forward to the next thing, as always. Now I'm tired. Yeah, more decent. Daniel Santos. How the duel honors its influence, the Star Force Visions analysis. And I want to check this out because, you know, Daniel doesn't upload that often. But also, I made a duel video, so I was like, oh, I wonder how he does it differently and mentions things. And he does mention the light thing that I do as well. I'm sorry if it's... I hope it doesn't end up being too much of a comparison with different videos and things. I ended up rewatching my video afterwards. And I'm like, okay, so our points don't cross that much, which is great. I was hoping that. Little things like, oh, Kamikaze Doga is, and then how, like, you know, the lights are in color and things like that. And we go different directions with that color aspect, which I liked. But then I really appreciate that he actually goes through the influences that I didn't go into because I hadn't experienced those things at the time, like Lone Wolf and Cub, and then you know, Akira Kurosawa films. I love the point that he made about the stormtroopers in the duel, like how the reason the bandits are dressed as stormtroopers is because it's coming off from that same trope where a lot of those bandits around that feudal period were that way because they had been soldiers who fought in a war, and then once the war was over, they had literally nothing to them and nothing to fight for, and so they were just kind of broken people. And so they're like, these guys are former stormtroopers in the same way, and I really liked that. That was really cool. Yeah, and talking about those things in that angle was really nice. It was a good time. Liked the video. Sorry, I get too much else to say about it. Fucking 40 minutes of the other ones. Granted, they're longer, but yeah, I liked the video. It was really cool. Nice job. Dong Chang put out a video about making your first animation demo reel and showing off his first reel. So yeah, it was really interesting. With the reel at the end, I mean. And he talks about it as like, this is why I put this particular one at the beginning, and this is what it demonstrates here, and makes it very succinct where just like, have your best work, only 1 to 2 minutes, minimum. It doesn't really analyze it too deeply or nitpicky or anything, but also talks about his making a portfolio too, not just like a demo reel, like a video of sorts, but like and giving of his experience was like, I worked on this short film, and then I did this thing and a Canadian short thing, and before I go, you know, learned more about him. That was really neat. Really calm and, you know, chill and everything. And I love hearing his perspective. It's so unique, and everyone else, all the other animators are way too busy. Not that he's not busy, not to say that. I don't know. I think the fact he has the motivation to make these videos is awesome. And yeah, I always appreciate seeing uploads from him. Charles Cornell with another anime video. He usually doesn't make anime videos, but occasionally. And he has the insane music animations of Kids on the Slope, and this time he's not necessarily reacting to music from a particular show, which he has done in the past, but here he's actually kind of talking about like the accuracy and I've seen the videos. Actually, some people have made edits where cartoons or live action things, there's like a drum or there's a sound that the character is making, but then the way it's animated or looks, this is how it's actually what it sounds like, what they're actually playing if those notes were accurate, and it's completely different and really shitty or whatever. But here he's really praising Kids on the Slope for its animations, analyzing 2 scenes, one towards the beginning and another one at the very end, which I really appreciate because, like, I think when I watched it back in the day, like a long time ago, and I was a little more snobby and didn't really appreciate animation in the same way I do now, or whatever. I don't think I appreciated that scene as much because I was distracted by some other plot thing or something. The fact it was the end, or I don't know. But it actually was totally blanked on this final scene, and it was really awesome. Plays through a lot of it and shows a lot of specific things, and he's like, yeah, these are totally accurate, and going through a lot of pianos and imitating it in person. So he's like, oh, what is that note? And things like that. Those are always great. He's a really great creator. He's doing really well. I really enjoy his stuff. Yeah, and I just like seeing that this kind of new perspective from him. He's not just reacting to music. He's showing how, like, this is accurate and talking about that sort of depiction in film. And it's like, oh, is this rotoscoped? And it was probably rotoscoped when I think about it. But yeah, really cool. Gigguk with a neat video. You're worthless and always will be. Clickbait, as it does. But he's talking about pretty obscure manga. What a light novel turned manga. 3 days of happiness, I believe, is the manga title. Is the light novel title. And then like the manga one has a longer title than the light novel, which was funny. That Gigguk mentions. And I just wanted to mention this because it's a cool showcase that like a substantial editing effort from Bakashift with like the mangamations and things. Nothing too fancy, but in a way that's very economic, unique. Doesn't feel like just a bunch of manga panels sliding up, as it typically happens. Kind of a more interesting choices. And then there's something about Gigguk's performance here where like in his writing, it just really reminded me that it's just like, yeah, he really can occasionally, like he's a big meme master, like very shitposty and like kind of dry humor, jokes. But a lot of people I think forget, and something I really admire about his content, he's able to be really earnest and not emotional, I suppose, but sort of like life affirming and really like reflective and thinking carefully about something. Not critically, I guess critically, but I don't know, just with a lot of empathy, I guess. It was just something about definitely this video, and I remember it for his other videos too. He's definitely made videos like this in the past. Like his Ava video felt this way, and his fucking other one, I don't remember. the one about place further than the universe. Things like that where he's like, he really cares and loves this thing. That's awesome. You know what I mean? So I just liked these kinds of videos and wanted to shout this one out. It's just like, I just really, it was a good vibes. It wasn't like it would blow my mind or anything like that, but it was just nice. That was really cool. And the brilliant character design of Eureka 7 from Moon Anime. And Moon Anime sent me the channel my way and be like, hey, I'm a thing, and very small and still trying to get the ball rolling with this. And it's tough. It's so hard. I hope you don't get discouraged, and I hope you like making videos. I think that's kind of the first and more hopefully fun thing for you, where you enjoy writing about it and then setting like making the video itself, I think hopefully is something enjoyment and fulfilling for you. And don't get too discouraged if the success doesn't happen right away. It's really the first 100 subs and 1,000 subs, I think most YouTubers can tell you, are the hardest hurdles, undeniably. But I wanted to mention it, the brilliant character design of Eureka 7, because I'm watching Eureka 7 actually. And first of all, thank you for not totally spoiling it for me, because I'm on like episode 38 right now. I'm watching one episode a day, pacing it out in that way, and so I'm not to Eureka's third and fourth designs. I didn't know she had those. I'm okay with being spoiled lightly in that way and like seeing the visuals in it, but I appreciate that you didn't have to describe it in those parts in so much detail, because if you did, I probably would have clicked off the video personally and wouldn't have talked about it. Only, but I'm happy to talk about it because I was like, oh yeah, I want to. And so like, I have actually openly tweeted of just like my discouragement about Eureka 7 for this exact reason that you're praising it for. And I get the story significance, and I think you do a great job really articulating that. And and really like bringing these certain points up in the story of like related to their design. It felt very measured and interesting. It kept my attention the whole way through. And again, I appreciate that you really focus on those first initial changes and not like later stages that are super towards the end, I suppose. I'm just happy to hear that she does get more changes afterwards, because she doesn't look good here. I mean, my argument, I guess, and it would be kind of I don't know how, it would depend on how I word it, I guess. But I feel like my argument would be like, you can have the character development and reason for these designs while also still making them interesting in a way that the audience is surprised and satisfied with, and it doesn't have to be purely on a story basis. You don't have, basically I'm saying, you don't have to make the designs look worse just because there's a story reason that makes them good. Like, I still think you can still make the designs look decent while still conveying that, like, oh, this is what they're going through and stuff like that. And I don't want to go into my own personal reasons why why I'm not as fan of these redesigns, because it would go into more technical and pedantic things. And also, I haven't seen the whole show, so who the fuck am I, right? I don't want to, give that, but I've been having, it's dampened my enjoyment, actually, to be honest with you. And, but no, I'm so happy you talked about it. It was a really interesting discussion, measured, and doesn't feel like it's biting off more than it can chew, while not dealing with vagueness, and not dealing with like kind of platitudes and like blech. I felt very specific and good. It was a really good video. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Well, it's almost an hour. And here we go, talking about the best videos of the week. The ones I was thinking, like, that's a really good video. That's really good. Despite that, I'm probably going to be talking a bunch of shit about this next one. And that's not I think I literally had 2 people this week, before I even watched it, like, did you see Super Eyepatch Wolf's Berserk video? And I've been anticipating this because I caught his update video after his Garfield video, where he mentioned, he's like, I'm going to work on a Berserk video. It's going to be a bigger one. I'm going to take some more time to make it. I'm like, oh my God. And I was very excited. And then I saw the thumbnail show and I was just like, damn. This is it feels like the first time, actually, surprising, of all the videos I've talked about and praised before, this feels like the first time, even before watching the video, where I was like, God, I wish I was a full-time YouTuber. I don't want to be, because I know I'm not fit for it. I'm not fit for YouTube. I don't want to make the things that are going to make me successful. Or I don't think I'm capable of finding that middle ground that, like, oh yeah, I can talk about the popular thing and be successful. And I don't think I'm, but maybe that's, the Stockholm of, like, being at 17K for however many years, right? It didn't work out. And I'm not saying I ever wanted to be in the first place. I always just wanted, it's like a lot of YouTubers where they just want to make the videos for the sake of it. But also, mainly, I just love my job. I love what I get to do as for, like, a profession and, like, for money. That, like, I can do what I do. I'm so grateful, and I will choose it over, I would stop making videos in an instant if it meant that. Like, literally. I'd probably have the urge to maybe make an occasional EMV or something, but, like, if I could never publish on YouTube again, that's fine. If it means I could keep doing what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing. But like, the fact that I have this fucking Naruto video that I've wanted to work on, and I don't have time. I don't have time anymore. The Gurren Lagann video is kind of the closest I'm ever going to be to that ideal, because I was fortunate enough to have it during a pandemic, and I was in a position to do so, to work on it every day. I was so lucky to, I was doing other work and stuff like that, but, like, for the most part, I was able to just work on that fucking video every day for 6 months, and I was able to do it. I can't do that anymore. I haven't worked on that Naruto script in like 2 weeks now, and that's fine, because I've been doing other things that I enjoy and I'm passionate about, and it's fine. But this fucking Berserk video made me be like, fuck, because I know he just put out that Garfield video, and, like, any other circumstance, this would have taken him way longer. And he's like, this is the hardest video I've ever had to make, and I'm not just downplaying it, but he's like, the hardest video I've ever to make, it takes so long to make. I would kill it if it took that long to make this big of a video, this substantial of a video. Oh my God, I'm so jealous. I've been jealous with Hazel as well, but the fact that, like, this is a really special thing for John and for Eyepatch Wolf, that was something I noticed. Watching the video, all that being said, oh gee, the first point I want to get out of the way, this was kind of funny to me. Let's count. I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 times he cut to the same picture of Miura. And I get it. There's not that many pictures of Miura. I get it. But, like, 6 of those times was the same manga to opacity layer dissolve into Miura, the same one. And I was like, Okay, I'm starting to see this. I've seen that before. And you repeat panels all over the place and spreads and whatever. Like, fine. Fine, you're making a 2-hour video, like, of course. Sure. But that was just funny to me. I just wanted to point that out first, get it out of the way. I was like, do I have to start counting how many times yeah, I'm gonna have to start counting, because like I wrote it at like 21:10, and I'm like, he's been using this transition. Do I have to start? As I was typing, he did it again. And I was like, yep, I'm gonna have to start counting. And I went back to the beginning of the video and counted up to the point where I kept going. Now, thankfully, 8 of those times happened within the first 20 minutes of the video. Only that, like, actually within a 10-minute span, because the first one happens 10 minutes into the video, and then the last one was like 21:41, and then way after, towards the end of the video, at like a 1:39, an hour and 39 minutes in, he does 2 more. Sorry, that's really dumb. I've never done that for a video before. Stupid, pedantic. I get it, but like, I just thought that was funny. You know, I was like, yeah, yeah. So this was really interesting. I did take a ton of notes. Got a ton of notes. Oh my god. Well, granted, it's a 2-hour video, so of course. But like, it really was sort of. It was something to really talk about and really think about, and a lot of different points you were making. A lot of stuff I loved. A lot of stuff that was just fine. And a lot of stuff that was just like, that's a weird choice. Nothing in a way that I thought was not good or be, you know, to knock it down. I think this is a substantial achievement, so I want to give it a best at least. But it was just weird. There was a lot of choices that I was just like, huh, okay. The beginning, you were acting really twitchy and nervous and this and it was weird because you've made 3 other Berserk videos. And this is like an hour 51. All right, he's game. This is the one. This is the definitive one. And then you're kind of acting weird and nervous and twitchy and stuff. I'm like, this is a weird start to the video. Like, what's going on? And it kind of felt amateur almost, you know? And I was like, you okay? Like, what? I guess it's a really challenging. All right. I get it because Miura passing, and right when you're like, and then I found out Miura passed away, and you described where you were and the feelings of that, and you're like, it's over. You don't address Studio Gaga and the other stuff, but you do later, so I am happy about that. But like at the time, I was like, you know, he has other people, right? And he's had a lot of expressed thoughts of how badly he wants Berserk to be finished. He wants Berserk to be a complete. He doesn't want to leave. He was terrified of dying before it finishing, and then it's his worst fear come true. And I don't know. It's like, even like other. I get for you. You can think however you want of just like Berserk's over. But like if you're especially like, I loved how much you were citing from your interviews and real information and stuff. And really thoughtful, and like the influences where he's talking about Rosa Versailles, and then what was the other one? Pygmalion? Like, oh yeah, hell yeah, that's great. All things like that. It felt like you were on the top of your game at this point. And I don't know. I think that's just my perspective of just like, it's up to the family really, and like the studio that he created and gave people careers. You know, that's up to them, and if they don't want to, that's their wishes, and I respect it. I respect the shit out of it. And if they do happen to keep it going, and they just, because Golgo 13 is still going now, they made that decision, and then there was also Saito's, because he's like, yeah, when I die, because I'm going, because he's like 80 or whatever, and he died kind of peacefully or whatever. I don't know the full details. You know. The next volume just came out, and it's like they are going to be publishing more Golgo. I'm not. They're 2 different situations, of course, but like I think it is. And he says you should have an open mind, but it's like you don't. It doesn't sound like you're going to have an open mind about it. You know, you are talking about it as if this such and such. I love your ending to the video, by the way, and that I think it makes up for that my frustrating bits with with that approach, I guess, and I really see where you're coming from, and I think that's awesome. Although with the ending, the hour 30 mark where you're like, I don't know how to end this video, and it gets kind of awkward, and you clearly see that you're struggling. You do have, I don't want to say the obvious to you, but it's sort of like, you do have full control of your video. You're the editor, I imagine. Like, you have some people helping with the art and stuff, but like, it's your choice to show this thing. I think you have a really good ending, but you don't have a good transition from what you were talking about to that ending. So I feel like you had to figure that out, and you kind of just gave up. And you're like, I don't know how to end it. I'm just going to cut it, and whatever I figure out will be next. And then it cuts to black, and you walk back, and it's like, the continuity. And again, I like the personal perspective. I like the fourth wall breaking. That's so unique to YouTube, and it's something I like as a creator as well. I get it, but also it's like, it does feel like you're giving up in a way, because you couldn't figure anything else out in terms of a transition that would make it like really strong, and figuring out this idea with Miura and like the parallels with him and Guts, with like Guts seeing Griffith and him deciding to leave on the boat and not pursue him, was amazing. It was a fucking breakthrough, and I'm like, there you go. There's the additive, like, not to say that the rest of the video wasn't. It was fun. I'm also just kind of addressing it as a Berserk fan when you say that the vast majority of it is not for Berserk fans, but for people who haven't seen Berserk. Which I thought was weird, because it's not like the fucking Berserk fans are gonna watch it either way. I'm gonna watch it either way, like, whatever. But there was things I was watching about it that I was like, this feels like just as much, if not more so, for Berserk fans as for non-Berserk fans, especially the dating sim sections, the Guts and Kasuga and Griffith. A lot of that was kind of based on the humor of having known the characters, but you don't know them if you're a newcomer. You know what I mean? Like, there was like an in-joke of just like asking Guts on a date, so what are your friends like? And this is like before, like, this is like right after the eclipse, and he gives you like the death stare or whatever. A newcomer doesn't know what you're talking about. You're giving them literally just as much information as the manga itself. And I'm just like, I don't know. It didn't work. Maybe that is the point, but like, it was a disconnect for me, because I constantly was just thinking about that. It was just like, you really are just, it's like, this is just for newcomers. I'm only, and then they think you can go now. Like when you're done talking to them, and like, this is for people who have grown up on it and or like have read it for years type of thing. That's not how videos work. I wish that's how it works. I think you should know that as well. I don't want to like mansplain it or something, but that's just not how it works. They're going to watch the rest of it. If they're interested, if they're captivated by this thing, they're gonna, yeah, of course they're gonna watch more of it. And then they like the section. I mean, I think a newcomer, if you had watched the whole video up to that point, I think you could follow what you talk about in that part two. As someone who has never read Berserk before, I think you could watch that. So it was just like, why is it parted in this way? And I don't know. Maybe it's just a way to word it, I suppose, of like, try to compartmentalize it, I guess. If so, really big compartment, an hour and 30 minutes or so for part one, and then 20 minutes for part. It felt very big, kind of lopsided in that way. So I mean, it's interesting, and then a lot of it. So I mean, the way he ends up like doing the newcomer thing is really just giving the Golden Age arc, describing it again. You know, just like the 97 series and just like the 2012 series, we're just gonna re-describe the Golden Age again. And like, all right. And I liked all the points that were kind of outside of that. Your description of the action was amazing. I loved the idea with like describing his sword, and it's like, oh, it breaks the panel, and like he only shows like the wind up and then the aftermath, and like that was great. Things like that, and little things throughout it. But then the spine of the video describing Golden Age arc, it's just describing Golden Age arc again, and a bunch of us have done that. I'm pretty sure that's how Masked Man did his video too. Describe, like, kind of made it so big by describing each part of the show, part of the series, I guess. I mean, that wasn't the most. It was kind of the little disappointing, but again, I think it's just it's your video. The fact that again, I think you're a really great video crafter. I loved the AMV section of showing Miura's art with the spreads. That was amazing. I think that nitpick, smallest nitpick, but like there's some moments where you give the whole like a panel. Like I'm pretty sure a couple of them were zoomed in or weren't actual 2-page spreads. And I was just like, and I'm like, Miura's an incredible artist. 1 page, just like this, like even on the, you know, maybe you do some blur in the back, I don't know. But like, even the 1 page, dude's incredible. You know, it doesn't have to be all 2-page spreads, but you did. The majority of it was. I'm like, okay. So I mean, that was a little bit of a nitpick, but I loved that though. Oh my gosh, deja vu for some reason. Holy shit. Let me read my notes. Yeah, the more about. Sorry to bounce back and forth a bit, but like the dating sim thing, it didn't do it for me. You know, like I bet it'd be pretty funny and for some people. And I love the art. The art is wonderful. The art you commissioned is great. Yeah. It didn't, the writing, you know what I mean? The actual execution of that dating sim type of thing, it wasn't as it was okay because it was just descriptive. It was just narration. Whereas like a dating sim, maybe you go all the way with it and show like a dialogue box and like an actual conversation of sorts. I think that would kind of been more interesting maybe. But something kind of weird about it was that like when you got to Griffith, you're using it as a way to characterize him and be a way to be like, this is sort of like how people look up to Griffith and why they look up to him, and using it kind of as in an illustrative way. And I thought that was so weird because like the dating sim stuff is kind of like fan fiction. It felt like I was specifically only to the Griffith part that I realized this is like fan fiction. And you're like selling the series of Berserk through your fan fiction. You know what I had that like you know, I was like, if your point was to get people to understand why every character loves Griffith, I mean, fuck, the reader loves Griffith if it does its job right. The majority of readers love Griffith, and they don't condone what he does, but he's a great character, right? And so it's like, use the material to sell this non-viewer who's watching your video instead of just reading Berserk, you know, an hour and 51-minute video instead of reading Berserk or watching the show or something. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, just show them evidence of Griffith being cool. Show them, like, reenact that scene of him talking with Guts that first time before, like, you know, when they, like, in volume 1 or 2 or I don't know exactly, like really, or like your first appearance of Griffith, really. Or some other scenes where he's incredibly the fucking fountain scene with the princess and Guts is looking from afar. You barely reference it. Like, you show it a little bit in that part where you're describing the, you know, you get to that part, but like, you know, just make him look cool, or not even just like hot, you know, like yeah, he's an attractive dude, but like it is in part that, but also his attitude and like, wow, he's kind of a cool guy, especially knowing not only just that like, oh, he's capable of this thing and he was capable the whole time, but also remember, I don't think you really mentioned this, the reader knows that he becomes femto. Like, we know that he becomes the object of Guts's revenge. And so it's sort of like this incredible magic trick that the series does where it's like, we know that's the bad guy. We know that's the dude that's the bane of his existence. And he's so cool, you know? It's that interesting contrast that it's this really incredible feat. I don't know. I feel like you didn't, I mean, you kind of have that where it's this dread. I don't know. It's just sort of in a different way, and it's different reading, and that's totally cool. Oh my god, the fucking correction zone that you have. You only do it twice, and you do mention, like, in the second one, you give an additional correction, which I really respected and appreciated. That was really cool of you. with like just correcting the things that the things you've said in the past, and like that was stupid. It's actually this, and you know that's awesome because it shows growth and that you're listening and you really give a shit this time. No, you didn't give a shit in the past, but like more, you're not just repeating yourself, right? You're not just making another video for the sake of it, right? Or just like, oh, I'll just make another Berserk video because that's what gets me views or whatever. No, you really are making this because you care and you want to correct the record and stuff, and know where you're, understand where you're coming from. Even the not the majority of your fans wouldn't have really cared one way or the other if you didn't apologize to the director of 2016 of the 2016 anime. He's like, I said a lot of uncharitable things and that was not really cool of me. There's a lot of people that make stuff, and you know, I don't know the situation of the production or anything. And that was really cool. You didn't have to do that. There's no defenders of 2016's anime. Like, you're kind of in the majority opinion, and no one would have blinked twice. But you went and said that. That's really cool. And like, I really respect that. Anyway, yeah. Oh my god, the point about it being fun, about Berserk just being a fun manga. Yes. Fuck. Yes. Yes. And I mentioned it in Coffee Case video when you mentioned in that correction zone where you say that's like, I thought back then, if you said something good about something, you have to say something bad to balance it out in order to come across as like objective or fair, and I don't care about those things anymore. Facts. Fucking facts. Like, there's no such thing as being fair and objective in this. You're gonna say wrong shit anyway, or people are gonna have problems with anything. So it's like, just say the thing. Even if you don't, you know, not if you don't believe it, then don't say it, kind of thing. I was trying to say that. Almost Freudian slip there. Yeah, no, but fucking the fact that it's fun, yes, doesn't get talked about enough. Oh my god, love that point. Yes. And your introduction to the Band of the Hawk with you playing the 97 OP, highlight. Love that. And your description of like, this is your first real friend group. Man, that's so good. That's so good. It's a lot of great points, a lot of great substance in this video. There's other things that, you know, so it ends up being kind of a mixed bag, but I don't want to make it like a negative thing. It's mostly a really triumphal thing, and it makes me infernally jealous. So it's a good thing. Yeah, you know. A small point. You were talking. You don't really go into the the not so good stuff that happens when, like, you know, Casca and Guts get really intimate, but then you shout out Emily, who's another content creator, that she's really good. She just put a really good AVGN video that's doing really well too, and but you shout out her Berserk video and you say that you haven't seen it because you don't want to watch videos that you've made that you're making a video on. Like, I get it. I would have kind of similar feelings, even though I have watched other I do that either way. I'm different. Built it. No. But like, I get it. But it was just kind of weird. And it's like, you haven't seen it, but you're recommending it? A little sus on personally. But hey, I mean, I like a creator shout out. I always love that. So that's neat. Just a little weird. He's like, I didn't watch the video, but you should check it out. Yeah. Oh my god, you had that comment rebuttal where like somebody said that they're not bandages, it's his, like, the wrinkles of his stomach, and I'm like, no, you see this panel in the same chapter, this is what his skin looks, and he just dunks on this comment. Then he doesn't even like show the comment. He's like, I got a comment one time that said this. And I was like, you fucking get him, dude. That was cool. Not just not giving a shit anymore. That was epic. I really liked just how you're describing the Golden Age and why it's called that. That was so nice. And the especially later on, it's sort of two different points, because you're describing the Golden Age, and then you kind of have like how this idea of like Miura is experiencing his own Golden Age in that hiatus period between 2007 and when he passed, where he wasn't writing a whole lot, but he wasn't a slave to this schedule, so he was able to enjoy life a lot more and have more fun, have a good time, and that like he was able to enjoy the fruits of his labor, really. And I think that's awesome. I really like that point. And then just describing it beforehand, as well as, and this is the third point, I think it's sort of separate, where you were talking about creative endeavors and how I want to, I wrote about it later. I had a note about it. I was like, this really connects to me. I felt very similar. Yeah, the candidness of like being a creator. And you've done this before with the Hunter x Hunter video and other things, other places like Burnout and whatever. But this description of like this idea of the end of a creative endeavor is like, eventually I'm going to stop making videos. It could be in 5 years. It could be in 1 year. It could be like 6 months. It could be right now. It's not, you know, and kind of yeah, right. And it's like, fuck, I have fucking felt that. And also where you were mentioning is like, he got so many really nice comments of how many people loved the Garfield video and how he thought it was his best video. And I would almost agree with that, actually. I think I probably said that when I talked about it at Digest. And then he's like, you're right, I don't think I'm going to top it. Fuck. You know? And I completely get that because of this fucking Gurren Lagann video that I made. Fucking, yeah, I don't think, I can't see myself making something like that big, connected. I don't know, just the editing on it, I can't top it. I don't think I can do it. And to think that you've peaked, that realization or whatever, it's like, oh shit. It's not a good feeling. It really fucking isn't. It kind of is almost, and then it's not in other ways. It's not in a lot of other ways. I don't know. So that was really important. I was really happy to hear that personally, honestly. One small thing is this is like, you say this like, this is still kind of early because you described like Golden Age and stuff, and I think people could be angry that you just spoiled all of Eclipse and like the whole Golden Age pretty much, and the whole gist of it to the non-Berserk fans. And you're like, this is still pretty early in this. This is really where Berserk begins. And in one sense, I agree. But on the other, that's 13 volumes of material that you've covered and spoiled for people out of 41. That is almost a third. I did the math. It is almost a third of the story, objectively. I mean, great, there's 2/3. It's not the majority, but like, it's kind of a lot, you know? You kind of hand waved that a little bit. I was like, that's a little more significant than I think you realize. And so it ends up being like, we just summarized the Golden Age arc again. All right, yeah. But at least you had a lot of great points in between there, and your humor is still really fun, you know, and your general video craft is still there and good. Substantively, it really wasn't until that ending and addressing Miura's passing and reflecting it on yourself and on creativity and the concept of Golden Ages, right? And then this connection with Guts and Miura, finding happiness, and they're kind of giving up on their dream of this thing and not kind of pursuing it, but not really, you know, kind of letting go almost. Awesome. Breakthrough. That's the video. Did it have to be an hour 50? Yeah, you know, to make that point. So yeah, I was just like, love that. And then, yeah, the last note that I wrote was like, I guess the transition to the ending was kind of more difficult than the ending itself. It feels, maybe you really did not have an idea for the ending, and it did take you those 5 additional weeks to figure it out. A breakthrough like that definitely sounds like that. But like, I think the stance you have is kind of interesting and a little controversial because you don't really even accept the final chapter. You seem to really like the chapter before, the last one he released while he was still alive, but there was an additional manuscript, and that chapter was released post-mortem, and you don't seem to like that or agree with how it ends. But I don't think you really take into account that totally makes sense. No, he definitely was the Midnight Boy. That's a spoiler, you know. He definitely was that character the entire time, and there was evidence of it. And I edited a video for a different channel where they predicted this. They actually predicted this this thing happening before this reveal, and it was right. It was there. That was it. So I mean, yeah, I don't know if it was weird that you just couldn't accept that. I guess that was so weird, especially maybe it's because it's more of a because it's you're yanking away the happiness. Well, not really. I don't think I don't think it takes away any of that happiness really, especially because it ends up like Griffith has the more of the realization. The single tear is showing that the cracks are showing. This whole idea of him being a god hand and being completely ice cold, soulless. I'm a demon now. Deal with it. I don't have any empathy anymore. I'm very singular. Go do as thou wilt. Do what I want to do, which is kind of a noble thing, which complicates it, right? But then he has that tear just means that he's oh my god, the dude's got empathy. He's not. And that's not to say he will redeem him or something. I don't think so. I don't think there's redeem coming. I don't think he deserves it. I don't know about that. But like, especially, even despite all this good stuff he's doing, it's like, but like, where was he going with it, right? Where was Miura going to go with that at the end? We'll never know from him. But it's not like he didn't talk about it with his closest friend, which you do mention. The guy who was going to make an autobiography manga with him. He talked about that manga for years. So he probably knows how it ends. And the assistants probably know the deal with things. If not, they've probably asked him over the decades. So like I had to end it on that point again, but like, yeah. Anyway, talked about for this about 30 minutes or so. So I think we'll end it there. I love the video. It was incredible. I had some problems. It wasn't perfect and blow my dick off completely, but like it's really good. Really, really good. I hope you're doing well. I hope you were able to recover from such a big project, really hard emotionally, probably as well as physically. And looking forward to what you got next. As YouTube be. YouTube doesn't care, dude. It really doesn't. And that's kind of one of the things that I'm just like, yeah, I don't know about this. I don't know about making this like sinking all this time because it doesn't care. It just wants the next thing. But then maybe that's life maybe in general. You think about like Hollywood directors, they're probably thinking, well, what's the next thing? I don't know. Interesting to think about. There were other videos that I liked that were like considered the best videos of the week. Kind of a throwback from Ygg Studio. Anime fans, where are you? Really chill. Not super elaborate or whatever. Just kind of a rumination on like the flow of anime fans of like. So when I started, it was this and forums and trying to speculate where they could be. Discord, for some reflections on YouTube. Thank you for the digest shout out a little bit. And just kind of ruminating on that. Also, Trixie's been on kind of a roll. There's something happened. It's like, all right, let's talk about Beastgate. All right, let's talk about this other, before just doing Anime Alphabet. That was kind of neat. And they could have talked about a lot of videos, but this obviously caught my eye in particular. I liked the subject. And it really felt like a throwback, kind of like a regular old school video from Trixie. And even in the same, kind of in a old schooler delivery in a way. I'm sorry if that sound, I don't know if that how it would come off, but there was something about this video that like it sounded like your former self, and it, not in a, I don't hope to not take that in a negative way. And obviously I like that form, and I'm not saying that's an improvement, I'm just no, I think it just reminded me. I was like, oh, that's interesting. It feels kind of a throwback of sorts. It was similar to the other one I've talked about before. That wasn't the Anime Alphabet one. That I forget this particular name. I don't know. I just that sort of thing is always what I've always been interested with your channel. I've talked about before. Which one was it? Which one was it? Live action anime? Best looking at? I don't remember. Damn, I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm just looking. Oh, We Have Forgotten Love was what I was like. Yeah, this feels kind of cool. Anyway, yeah. So that was cool. I enjoyed that. Sorry if I'm just repeating myself a bunch. It was a really fun time, and it's funny because it's like with Digest, it's like I'm watching videos for this purpose or whatever, and it feels kind of different than casually watching a YouTube video for me, right? I do watch a lot of YouTube. That's not just anime or whatever. And so like when I watch an abroad Japan video, it feels like that to me. It feels like I can just chill and I can put it in digest because I don't give a fuck, because it's like, it's sort of tangentially almost related in a way, even though Chris has never talked about anime in the same way. But this is a video, why not to teach English in Japan? And it's not like a typical essay of sorts. He's interviewing a close friend of his who was taught in education and a variety of jobs for 10 years, and he's finally retiring to do Twitch. And I love their dynamic with each other, and he's telling these stories at Chris's ramen bar, and I like the editing, like the kind of the supplementary images that Chris is able to add. It all seems so professional, and I don't know, but it's such a fun time. I gut busted laughing at some of the I'm so sorry, I forgot his name. His buddies' stories, and like it was such a fun time. It was an enjoyable video. Both of them are very amicable and have really good chemistry, bounce off each other. You can tell they've been friends for a long time. Yeah, it's a really fun, good video, and yeah, I won't be like educational because it's just one guy's experience, and they do put a lot of good caveats in at the end. They're just like, it is ultimately pretty fulfilling and such. But yeah, I love this, and yeah, I love his videos. They're wonderful. And the last video, I guess he was like, it's the last video I watched right before Digest because I had finally finished watching all of these videos and taking all the notes. And then Bonsai Pop puts out the Rumiko Takahashi manga princess video, and I'm like, okay. Usually I would have just been like, I have to get going. I'll just talk about it next week or something. But this especially caught my interest because it's a creator focused, and it's because it's sponsored by Viz, and they're focusing on this anthology that they're publishing, and they couldn't get like digital copies with all the Viz and everything, so they had to show the physical. And so they have Mike on camera for the majority of it, and I think it was really good. It's similar to the Afro Samurai video, where like half of that video is just Mike in front of a camera, so he's got the presence for it, and I think he ends up carrying it really well, and it was a fun video in that. It's similar to what I've said about Pause and Selects videos, where him being on camera actually keeps my attention longer somehow. I don't know, it's a human thing, right? We're just like a face. I'm able to like pay attention and listen to the thing a little closer, or just longer, more attention, I guess. So it was kind of similar in this. I think with how long the videos have been, this happens with me in general because I'm kind of a ditz in places, but like, sometimes I zone in and out of videos and don't remember them all that clearly. But here I thought I was able to really concentrate a lot, and I loved the angle here where they're talking squarely on Rumiko Takahashi's almost autobiography of sorts, where she's talking about how she got into manga and using that as a vehicle and talking about her in specific terms. I really liked that. Mike really also keeping it like real with talking candidly and like fourth wall breaky about their own channel, and like, oh yeah, like you don't find your success, you don't know what you're going to do out of high school or even out of college or whatever, and being personal in that way was really neat. Yeah, it was just a really fun, nice time. And again, I actually thought that he was worried about the amount of on-camera presence, but I actually thought it improved the video in a way, because I feel like if it was just sort of like sporadic clips of mix of Ranma and Urusei Yatsura and not a lot of Maison Ikoku, you can tell he hasn't seen Maison Ikoku yet. Or maybe you have and just not interested, I don't know. It just seemed like it very much leaning on Ranma and Inuyasha because you love those particular titles, and then Urusei Yatsura because it's the first one. But yeah, that's okay. But I like the angle and the focus with this particular manga, and the fact that on camera, actually, I thought it improved it. I thought it was actually really good. Yeah. I really enjoyed the videos. It was a good time. Okay. It's 7:30. I'm out of breath, and I didn't take any, I didn't even have any liquids beforehand. I was so dumb. Maybe I'm just super, I don't know. Anyway, that's to do it for this. See how messed up I am. AniTube Digest is over. This week's. Thank you guys very much for watching. You guys are great. You have a great week. Yo, peace.